Opendoor stock closed at $2.88 in its latest session, a modest drop after what has been an absolutely explosive few days. But if you're thinking the play is over, think again. In my view, we're in the early stages of a meme rally that could stretch all the way into August. I'll tell you exactly why I think the rally still has legs, why the upcoming shareholder vote is becoming less important than people think, and why I'm increasingly focused on the August earnings as the true catalyst that could send this stock into the stratosphere. So let's talk about what really happened today. After an early morning surge, the stock lost steam and drifted downward on much lower volume. And that's the key thing to note. Volume was down significantly. That suggests we're not seeing panic selling, but rather a pause. Traders locking in gains. Others waiting on the sidelines ahead of the special shareholder meeting. It's a classic consolidation phase after a major move, and it doesn't mean the rally is over. I personally see this as healthy. The rally needed to cool off just a bit after the wild price action we saw earlier in the week. And the fact that we held above the $2.80 range even with fading volume is a good sign. Now here's where my thinking has evolved. Earlier in this story, there was a lot of focus on the July 29 shareholder meeting and the proposed reverse stock split. And don't get me wrong, that vote still matters. But I no longer believe it's the key catalyst for this stock. Why? Because the most likely outcome is that the vote passes, giving the board the authority to enact a reverse split, but they don't actually follow through with it. And that would be a smart move by the board. Because let's not forget, Opendoor is already back in compliance with Nasdaq listing rules. There's no immediate need for a reverse split. And pushing forward with one now could damage sentiment, especially in a moment when retail momentum is breathing life into the stock. So I believe they'll keep the option in their back pocket, but they won't use it. At least not right away. And if I'm right about that, if the board gains the power but decides to do nothing, that alone could trigger another wave of bullish sentiment. It would validate the idea that this rally is being respected by the company itself, and it could spark a fresh round of FOMO. Now let's talk about the real catalyst, earnings. Opendoor is expected to report in early August, and this is where things get interesting. If they post even modest improvements, whether in gross margins, home resale velocity, or narrowing losses, the rally could transform from a meme move into something fundamentally supported. This is where institutional investors might start to pay attention. This is where the squeeze dynamic could be amplified by a narrative of actual recovery. Now I'm not saying earnings will be amazing, but the bar is low. If the company clears it, especially after months of being beaten down in the market, we could see a dramatic repricing. And when you consider that Eric Jackson of EMJ Capital recently slapped an $82 price target on this stock, yes, 82, it shows how much upside some bulls still see long term. Let's also not ignore the retail side of this equation. This stock is still trending heavily across platforms like Reddit, X, and YouTube. Options flow is still intense. Short interest remains elevated. And those are all ingredients for continued meme momentum. In fact, I personally doubled down during the last pullback, and I don't regret it. I believe there's a strong chance we'll test that psychological level of $5 again. And if we break through, then $10 or even $20 becomes a very real possibility, especially if we get a bullish narrative around earnings. So what's my position? I'm still very bullish on Opendoor. I think the worst-case scenario, a reverse stock split actually being enacted, is looking less and less likely. And I think retail sentiment is still strong enough to keep this rally going into August. We might get volatility, sure, but this story isn't over, not by a long shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you still holding? Do you think the board will go through with a reverse split? Or do you agree with me that the vote might be a non-event, and the real show is coming in August? Make sure to like and subscribe if you want more updates as this trade develops. Thanks for watching, and good luck out there.